the more important story is the golf professional, the people behind the scenes that actually help people get better. I mean, you guys are just on a mission that's I love it, dude. Golf's been everything for me. Golf has been everything for me. So to just share it a little bit, take some of the tips, the experiences that you've had, it's so valuable to people who have, because I've been a teacher for a long time and played professionally. And there's so many people that just, um, you have 25 handicaps leading 25 handicaps. And it's like,
Yeah,
guys, that's just not it. So
that's
I
awesome,
just
man.
like to kind of get everybody's 2 cents. And so we're just building that right
Yeah,
now, get everybody's different take on it. So
that's
fascinated to
awesome.
meet you and excited to hear your story, brother.
Yeah, man, me too. Yeah, I met the owner of the golf club here at Independence last year, well, around when I had started my practice, and from there it was just kind of meeting the right people and be at the right place at the right time. And I would say I've been very blessed to get be able to form a partnership here at the golf club. And so my role is they have head pros here that help work on the golfer's swing and their mechanics, and then they wanted to add in the physical therapy component, so just that health component, because as you know, you watch these guys on TV, they're all crushing the ball, and every single one of them is doing hardcore workouts. And I remember watching the one of the events, they talked about how Brooks, he had one of the later tee times and he just got done working out with his trainer before heading out to the golf course. And so that's what the owner of the golf club wanted to do, is just add value to what the members have here at the golf club. And with my experience being a physical therapist, they said, hey, we want to go ahead and be able to have the ability to be able to work with some of the golfers here. You specialize in golf performance, and from there it's just taken off. You start working with some of these people, and from there they tell other people, and they have a good experience, and that's kind of how it's grown. So I've been very blessed to be partnering with the golf club here.
Dude, I love that. And we'll get into, more specifics and all that. I'd love to lay some groundwork and just kind of see where it is that you started, what's your background? How did you get into like the performance side, the physical therapy side? I'm always fascinated. And I think people deserve to know kind of like where it starts and kind of how it's come together.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. So I was a big baseball player in high school, and I ended up having a labral tear in my right shoulder. I was a pitcher, and that was the first time I experienced what physical therapy was all about. The physician went ahead and sent me to an orthopedic center where I got physical therapy. And it was funny, man, because the physical therapist I was working with was really cool. He was a baseball player too, back in college. And I was like, man, this seems like an easy job. You get to hang out with people, you give them exercises, they're all laughing, having a good time. And I didn't realize that you had to get your doctorate in order to become a physical therapist around that time. Yeah, so I ended up getting back throwing again. My shoulder's feeling great, and I all of a sudden I re-injured it, and I ended up having to have surgery. So I was out my senior year of high school, but I ended up experiencing physical therapy again. And from there, that's how I kind of started to get into it. And so I ended up jumping into college after high school. I went to college at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville, and I did athletic training for my undergrad work. And so then I was around sports medicine, working with college football as well as college baseball, which was a great experience. And from there, I ended up moving to, after I graduated with my bachelor's in 2010, I ended up going to the same college to get my doctorate and graduated in 2014. And I ended up jumping right into an outpatient sports medicine facility in Greenville, South Carolina. And I got a lot of good experience there. I was working with a good amount of patients every day. I was getting a lot of reps, looking and seeing a lot of presentations that occurred throughout that time. And from there, I started seeing some of the golfers there. I was more of a baseball player growing up, and then I didn't get into golf until around college time frame. And so around college, I ended up playing golf a good amount. I really enjoyed the game. My dad is the one that encouraged me to get into golf. And I already had kind of that baseball swing. So it was kind of a natural movement for me to be able to rotate to the left. And so from there, I ended up, after college, graduated with my doctorate, moved to Greenville, worked at a busy outpatient center. I started working with some of the golfers there. And to me, when I would have golfers on my schedule and they wanted to get back to golf because they were having low back pain, from there I would get super excited to be able to work with them. That was actually like one of my favorite things, is when the golfers would come in. And so I connected with them really well. And that's kind of where it all started, was where my passion was. We ended up having a couple kids while we were there with me and my wife, and my wife was pregnant with our third child. And she's like, Andy, I think it would be best for us to be able to move up to Richmond, Virginia, where my family is. So I said, you know what, that sounds like a great idea, to be closer to our family. And we ended up moving up here. We had our third child, and I ended up working for a company. I was not super happy with my job. I was not passionate about what I was doing. And I ended up starting my own practice at the beginning of last year. I actually did it on the side while I was working my full-time job, because I wasn't 100% sure of how it would do. And so it started to get a little bit of momentum early last year. And from there, I said, you know what, I'm ready to go ahead and jump in full time. And I ended up being at the right place at the right time, being the owner of this golf club. And from there, he said, hey, Andy, I would love to be able to partner with you. I think it just would be great for you to be able to add value. And from there, I was able to essentially I was thinking, well, if I jump from job to job, I'm just never going to be happy. I said, and my wife, I give a lot of her credit. She's the one that encouraged me. She said, Andy, you need to do what you're passionate about, and jump out on your own, and go ahead and follow your passion. And from there, looking back on it, yes, it's been a very stressful past year, but at the same time, if you don't take any risks, there's not going to be that great of a reward. So honestly, I drive home after I've worked with golfers and active individuals as well. And I'm driving home and I feel so satisfied. And so I actually get up in the morning. I'm like, man, I love what I do. I love being able to get people back on the course. And that's the thing, is I'll work with people that they love golf and they have low back pain. And they say, Andy, I get to the 13th hole and my back is just killing me. I work with those types of people. So we end up doing some rehab to get their back stronger, get their core stability going. And from there, we start to progressively load that area to where they're able to get to the 18th hole. And they're like, man, my back's feeling a lot better. I'm ready to get to the 19th hole. You know what I mean? So I work with those types of people, but then I also have people they're like, Andy, I don't have any pain at all. I feel great. I just want to be able to hit the ball further. And I really enjoy working with those people as well. It's great to help, see somebody's swing speed jump up by 10 to 15 miles an hour in a short period of time. But to me, I really enjoy being able to work with an individual that wants to be able to play this game for a lifetime. Because golf is one of those sports that you can play until, you're in your 90s. And so that's, to me, very rewarding, because a lot of these people, golf is essentially their life. They really enjoy playing. That's kind of their socialization, getting out on the course, being able to talk with all their friends and create that camaraderie. And for them to be injured and not be able to play, that psychologically can really mess with people. So I really enjoy helping those people play the game for a while, making sure that they're not presenting with, when I do my evaluation process, they're not presenting with some of those big red flag deficits that are increasing their chances of getting injured down the road. Those are the big things I love to address and be able to connect the dots for them. And they really enjoy it. So I would say that's what I really enjoy about working with some of the golfers.
Dude, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. A couple things. Congrats on the doctorate. Congrats on the family. Kudos to your wife. I can see the smile on your face. I can appreciate going out on your own. There's a lot of risk that you assimilate with that, especially with the family, you have responsibilities and all that. But, I can just hear you and see you, how much it lights you up. So just number one, congrats for that. I think that's awesome. I'm more of that latter client where I'm always looking for a little bit of performance, but you're right. I always equate golf. I call golf an affliction. It's one of those things, like I have to play, And funny that we're doing this today. I went to a little session this morning about a little bit of mobility and getting involved in a gym. That's what it was, just being able to play for a long period of time. I'm looking at my 90s and beyond to be able to play, and that's what I want to prepare for now. So now, do we, as the golf community, I'll kind of speak on behalf. Thank you for that. It's really a lot of us in golf. I see the fitness side and really the physical therapy just starting to become more prominent. And it's truly meaningful to a lot of golfers out there. My coach this morning said, play pain free. Like I'm 29 years old, but playing pain free. To do it in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. You put a couple decades into your body like that, some things will start to come together. So I'm more so curious about what it is that you usually see most golfers going through that evaluation process that you kind of alluded to. What do you see most people struggle with? What are like a couple things that people can just tune their eye towards that'll really just help them understand what it is that you can help them with?
Yeah, great question, Matt. So when I do my evaluation process, I like to look at 5 different factors. One, the most important to me is going to be flexibility. They need to be able to rotate in the golf swing they need to be able to rotate through different areas through the body and have correct flexibility to create an actual golf swing. That's the big thing. Is I find that a lot of these golfers that I work with that are between their 60s and 80s, they tend to present with significant flexibility restrictions. And it's great because a lot of times they can increase swing speed within one session just from being able to rotate a little bit further through their thoracic spine and their trail hip. So to me, flexibility is the most important thing. The next thing I like to look at is their ability to control their muscles. So the ability for their brain to connect to those muscles is really important, because a lot of you see the professionals. I mean, you've taken, how many swings do you think you've taken in your lifetime?
I was trying to add it up, man. I got to be at a couple 100,000, easy,
right?
Easy.
You have created these motor patterns within your brain connecting to the muscles. You have been able to perform repetition after repetition, and you're able to get into the right position at the right time at impact to create a center of the club face hit to create consistency. And so I also like to assess how well can their brain control their muscles through disassociating their upper body from their pelvis. How well are they able to rotate their pelvis while keeping their upper body stable? A lot of times these people have a terrible time being able to control their body in space. So that's like the second thing I like to look at. The third thing I like to look at is their strength. So they need to be able to produce force when it comes to swinging the golf club. So people tend to have more deficits in flexibility and muscle control versus the strength, but the strength is another component I like to assess. The other one's going to be power. How well can they produce force quickly? That's going to be very important in the golf swing because you're moving quickly. And then the fifth thing I look at is swing speed. So a lot of these people, they tend to work, the whole over speed training and the speed sticks. It's kind of a popular thing that's going around right now in the golfing community because yes, everyone wants to increase swing speed. But what I find is these people are doing swing speed training when they actually don't have the adequate foundation built underneath them. They don't have the adequate flexibility. They don't have the adequate muscle control, and they don't have the adequate power or the strength. And they end up going to these swing speed trainers, and it just increases their chances of injury because the instructions during overspeed training are you need to swing as hard and as fast as you can. And that is great if they have the adequate components that are up to par before going into that. So that I would say the most important thing for me that I find is I love being able to change somebody's flexibility within one session. To me, if you can, on the first evaluation, you say, hey, we have these deficits that we need to address based on the evaluation that I did, but let's go ahead and start working on flexibility first. And from there, when you start working on somebody's flexibility and you measure during the evaluation, I'll measure people's thoracic rotation with a goniometer. I'll measure their hip internal rotation bilaterally. And Then you go to do a treatment with them. You do either a manual therapy technique or you have them do some corrective exercises. And from there, you retest it. And all of a sudden, they're like, oh my gosh, I've been able to improve my rotation by 15 degrees. Right then and there, you get people to buy in. That, to me, that is huge. If you can show somebody, hey, this is the improvement that we've seen, it's honestly very rewarding. So I love it.
I can tell, man. And for somebody who has spent, and I'll just paint the picture, someone's been playing, because I deal with them all the time. I've seen so many in my life. They've been playing 10, 20, 30 years. And you can tell by the way they move their body that their hips and shoulders are moving at the same time. And there's these just patterns. They've never taken the time to, some people go to the gym for general health, they'll go and lift some weights and whatnot, but none of it truly pours into, for a golfer. I'll just use the example of this morning. I go in and I say, hey, like, my life is golf. I'm trying to build a machine that's number one, happy and healthy every day. So I want a happy heart, a happy mind. So that part's good. But, I want a machine that can hit some golf balls. I want to be able to do it for a long period of time. So to be able to get into the specific things and just get introduced to that world, and so I've been doing it not as a professional in health or anything like that. I just know, okay, I need to be able to turn more. I need to be able to get rotational strength. And so I was kind of able to figure it out through trial and error. But for someone who's just kind of getting into it, where would they look? Where would they start? What would be the first couple things for them to take a look at? I've got a lot of people coming in like, hey, what are some golf stretches that I can do? And it might not even be stretching, but I'll let you kind of field that one.
Yeah. So I would say, what if somebody's watching this podcast and it's like, I'm a golfer, I want to be able to improve my performance. I look at the PGA Tour and all these guys are working out, they're getting stronger. I don't know where to start. So I would tell them, number one, you can actually, so Titleist Performance Institute. Sorry.
Yeah, take your time, brother. No, please.
So Titleist Performance Institute, they have certified professionals that can do assessments. Mm-hmm. And you can actually go on mytpi.com and you can search your zip code and see if there's any type of fitness professionals or medical professionals that are certified in TPI. Those are some people that you can reach out to and just send them an email or call them and just kind of pick their brain a little bit and just see, you can get a feel for just talking with someone if you feel like this is going to be the right fit for you. But I would definitely see a professional that can do a physical evaluation on you. And then from there, tell you where your deficits lie. Because a lot of these people they'll go on YouTube or they'll go on the internet, they'll go on Instagram and they'll say, okay, I'm going to follow this fitness professional that specializes in golf. And I'm going to go ahead and just start doing the exercises that they put on there. Yeah, those might help, but they may not be the perfect exercises for you to be doing that address the deficits that you present with. Does that make sense?
Of course. And so this just being fresh in my mind, I went to the assessment this morning and, we were measuring shoulder mobility, we were doing hip mobility, this, that, and the third, working with the thoracic spine. And so my deficit was more in the ankle mobility. And I was like, how would I have known to look there? So I'm totally on board with you, Andy, about just, go and see a professional. Just me, and I'm no professional in health, of course, but, I've been playing for 20 years. And the last thing that I do a little bit of everything, right? Just as me knowing what I know, but to go and see a professional like yourself it's truly a valuable service. And so what I left with was, crap, I got some good things to work on. This is really going to be good for, number one, for me as a golfer, but then the rest of my life, just literally walking around, so many people who can't like reach above their heads or they can't turn around, sore backs, anything like that. It pays more than that in dividends.
Right. Yeah. And there's some people also that do online assessments. I think that's better than nothing. By doing like a webcam video and looking at somebody's movement patterns and But to me, the in-person is going to be better in my opinion. But if there's nobody in your area when you search the zip code, then, and you're not willing to travel a little ways, then the next step would be just contacting some of these medical professionals or fitness professionals, getting in contact with them via the internet, and to be able to do like a Zoom chat. That's another option as well. So, and be on the lookout. I'm actually in the pipeline for creating an online course where
Beautiful.
where I have videos of different self-assessments that you can do at home. And then from there, there'll be different algorithms that people can go down based on their presentation with those tests. So that's on like the pipeline here in the next months to a year. So
Beautiful. I love that, man. And if I can help send any people your way, that's I want to kind of network this in such a way where there's good information. There's good people like yourself out there who know what they're doing. And so I'll put it this way. So I've taught golf for, I've played golf for a long time. I've taught it for a little bit. But it's not my specialty when it comes to fitness. It's not my specialty. So to think that even your local golf professional is going to know, I know plenty of golf professionals who, they're just not in the shape to be making a lot of these movements. So they are two separate facets of the game.
absolutely. That's a great point, because a lot of people, they'll look at me and then they'll see some of the head pros and they're like, aren't you guys the same? Because I've had somebody come to me that was thinking that I was going to change their swing. And I had to kind of sit down on the first meeting that we had and kind of explain that, yes, I can assess look at your swing down the line and face on, and I can be able to see if there might be some mechanical flaws that could be leading to some of the overuse injuries that you're experiencing. And so I can look at those things, but I'm not going to sit here and say that you need to be flexing your lead wrist at the top of the backswing and making sure that you're in this position. These are some drills you need to do in order to improve your swing. That's going to be out of my scope of practice. So I think the education process is important. And I tell people, I look at the physical body. I look at you and see how you're moving. How's your flexibility, like all the different facets that we talked about earlier on this podcast. I'm looking at those things and and once we start to address those deficits, then a lot of times it'll carry into the golf swing. So.
Oh, I love that. And it's funny because I've been through it before. I was working with a physical therapist the other day on his swing. And we both look at each other like, yeah, I don't know. It's not the same activity that we're doing. I don't know the body like you do, and vice versa. It's like, we all have our expertise, but it's not I can do everything sort of thing. It's just not.
Yeah, we have some of the clients that I have, they are also seeing the pro here. And so it's really all about communicating with that pro and say, hey, this client, this person, they presented with these deficits, and that may be why they're not able to turn, and that may be why they're not able to get their shaft on the right plane, is due to some trail shoulder external rotation deficits. So those are things that we communicate about, and from there, if the head pro knows what their physical limitations are and what we're working on, we're all on the same page, and that client feels like they're being well taken care of. So that's just, to me, it's all about the team approach and communicating with all the different team members that have expertise in areas that you do not. So I love it.
No, it's awesome. And they are very different, because sometimes as an instructor, you can work with someone 2, 3, 4 weeks and beyond on the same thing, where we don't know that there's a physical limit in the body. And if you can't get past that, they're just sitting there like, I just don't feel it. And the coach is getting frustrated because it's like, oh, it's such a simple movement, but they're missing the point. So to go to someone like yourself who can kind of, like in that first session, free up a little bit of turn and whatnot, and ultimately work towards getting to a pain-free round, get ready for that 19th hole, be ready to go afterwards. It's a huge benefit. Absolutely, Matt. That's awesome, man. So are you
still playing pretty often, or are you kind of
Yeah,
okay?
I have a passion to play. I compete a few times a year. You know,
Mhm.
most of my time is vested in helping other golf pros out and growing their businesses. But I'll never lose that desire to play, man. You know, I went this morning to that session and said, I'm always trying to level up. You know, I think it's our nature as human beings to always want to improve a little
Yep.
bit and keep kind of going down that road. You know, in the wintertime, I tend to focus on the body a little bit more. And then, you know, I might train 3 times a week during the wintertime. And then, you know, maybe just twice a week during the season and kind of do more, just do different, I take it in cycles like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I'll always have to play, man. It's just one of those. And that's why I value it so much. What you do is that, I mean, there's people my age who are, and I look at them and I'm like, guys, we're in our 20s, you know, you getting a sore back and being tired and done after 18 hole and you're still riding in a cart. It's
Right.
like we're missing something. And I'm glad people like yourself are stepping out and doing these practices. People are getting curious about it. There's a lot of people who are number one in the past couple of years who have come to the game. It's been a wonderful opportunity for golf in that sense. And then I think people that are already in the pipeline that are playing golf already are now getting curious about what edge can I get. You know, they've gotten the golf lessons, they've put in the work, they're still shooting the numbers, their coach is still working with them on doing the same movement, but there's a roadblock there. And what you do is something that is like, it's very clear. It's very clear when someone comes to you, like you know, your hips aren't in a position where they can rotate properly, or you know, your spine is all knotted up. You know, we've got to move these things around, get that flexibility back. And I know just from training a long period of time, you talked about having that kind of that mind body connection. I'm not sure how you framed it, but my ability to target certain muscles and get them to work and isolate them is a skill. It's, to me, it's turned into a skill.
Yeah, and it's really neat. You talk to some of these guys that are shooting low 70s, and they're carrying the ball 230 yards off the tee. And it's like, imagine if you could be carrying it like 30 yards further, how much easier the game. I mean, they'd be shooting in the high 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just amazing how you start working with someone that is they're able to hit the ball consistently. They're hitting, the center of the club face. Now it's just a matter of increasing their power and their swing speed. That is just, to me, I get super excited when I hear about, being able to help people hit the ball, a little bit further, and they're able to be closer to the green, and therefore green regulations go up, the proximity to the hole. They're landing the ball closer to the hole because they're hitting a sand wedge versus a 9-iron. So to me, that is, I love it.
It's great, man. I gotta say, and there's no better feeling as a coach when you can see that aha moment on someone's face where they do the undoable, right? They hit their 9-iron 15 yards further. They have that much more freedom in their golf swing.
Right.
Um, you know, they're putting, the way I've heard it kind of described is like, wow, I feel like I'm hardly swinging. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, because you were throwing your arms so hard at it. And there was the back wasn't involved, the shoulders weren't involved, there was no turning involved. Now you just literally turn and it's like cracking a whip down at impact and you have all of this motion now. It's I'm glad to see it coming, bubbling up, because golfers need it.
Yeah, that's the other thing I notice is that most of the recreational golfers, they're going to show up to the course 5 minutes before their tee time. They're going to hit a couple putts, maybe hit a couple drives off the tee, and then they're going to jump onto the first tee box. Or they're going to put their foot up on the cart and they're going to do a little hamstring static stretch for 1 minute. And we know the research shows that static stretching is actually going to decrease performance. And so I always encourage my golfers, do a quick, easy 5-minute warm up of various different exercises that you can do. It takes 5 minutes, and essentially you're just pumping blood to those muscle groups that really you need to be able to use in the golf swing. And it's crazy how somebody's swing speed can go up, 5 miles an hour based on them doing a dynamic warm up prior to actually hitting the ball. So that's the other thing that I would say is important is making sure you're doing an adequate warm up before going out there. Obviously, you're probably doing some work prior to going out and hitting your first ball, which is important. But in regards to the recreational golfer, if anybody has 5 minutes prior, as long as you get there a little bit earlier, you can get moving. That's going to be really important. So
when it's a priority, they'll do it, So
right.
let me ask you, for that recreational golfer, for that person who's like, I'm starting to picture them. They're like, yeah, I know I need to they know that the body's a limit, right? They know that like, okay, I've taken the golf lessons, didn't get the result. They're kind of getting to the point where they know the body's the limit. What is something that you would, and I understand and can appreciate, and we'll preface it by saying, go and see your professional, go and see what your limits are and start there. But if someone's just getting started, they want to get, a couple minute routine, 5-minute routine involved, what are some things that they can look at and just kind of focus on?
Yep. Yeah. So I have a YouTube channel called the Easy 5-Minute Warm Up on the Royal Treatment YouTube channel. So that I actually have a 5-minute warm up that they can do, and they can go to YouTube, search the Royal Treatment Therapy and Performance. And from there, a 5-minute warm up is on one of the videos. Very simple 5-minute warm up. That's what I would recommend that they do. But there's so many different ways to warm up. That's just one. So that's what I recommend. And for the most part, that's the other thing is like, the people that I work with, they want to get better. Like they have a passion because obviously they're paying money for me to improve their performance out on the course. But there's also another percentage of golfers that they just want to go out there and have a few beers and enjoy their time. They don't care. They're just going to show up to the first tee and they're going to loosen up by the 4th, 5th hole. And they have no desire to improve their performance out on the course. And that's going to happen. So I always talk with people. I'm like, if I'm going to work with you, I want you to be very committed to this program. And I want you to be performing the homework that I give you between sessions constantly, because when you come back, we're going to retest some of those measurements that we've had deficits in, and we're going to see if those have improved. And from there, we just kind of work up that ladder and continue to work on those deficits that they present with. And it's been fun. When we have that conversation on the first session, a lot of them buy in and they say, you know what, Andy, I'm going to go ahead and make this happen. And psychologically, it really boosts their morale too, because they have a professional that is giving them exactly what they need to be doing, and they have direction, they have that accountability. And so that's what I would say is that 5-minute warm up, but then you're going to get those people that just aren't super passionate about improving their performance. So, but I love that group of people that really want to get, take their game to the next level. I'll be here as a resource and help guide them through that process.
Love it, man. Yeah. So absolutely. Anyone listening, go check that out. I love that, dude. That's, it's what people need, and people are hungry for it. I'll put it that way. People are definitely know that that's something that they can focus on. It's an easy win, pouring into the health too. It checks a lot of boxes. So one of the last questions I'll really ask you is like, what's the next step for you? What's the next 5-10 years look like for you? Where do you see this going? And what are some of the things that you're focused on?
Yeah. So my thought has been organic growth, word of mouth, people telling other people. And my plan, like to me, what I would love is to have one of those performance facilities that you see the green turf, you see, the kettlebells, the bumper plates, the rig, like the Rogue rig. I would love to have a performance center like that. And then to also have hitting bays with TrackMan, to me, that would be a dream come true. Because what would be awesome is get some data, get some ball flight data on them on the initial assessment. And then from there, let's go work on some of these deficits. And within the same session, let's actually go back to TrackMan or GC Quad and let's look at some data again. Let's see how it changed. And that's an even more of a buy-in for them. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And they buy in more and they're more motivated to do their program when they see those changes. So to me, that would be awesome. If money wasn't an option, I would say a facility like that with multiple hitting bays, running classes for golf performance, having local high schools come in, some of the colleges coming in, and us working with them, and then more physical therapists, hiring some personal trainers as well to be able to work on the fitness aspect. And that, to me, that would be a dream come true in the next 5 to 10 years.
I love it, brother. Where's some? I know you mentioned your YouTube channel. Where else can people find you? Because I want to direct people your way. You're a genuine guy. When I emailed you about the podcast, I saw all the enthusiasm, man. I love that. People need that. People need more of you.
Absolutely. I said, let's go.
Yeah.
Exclamation points. So my website is www.theroyaltreatment.physio. So it's not .com, but it's .physio, PHYSIO. So yes, you can get in contact with me through that website, but also my Facebook, my Instagram. My Instagram is @theroyaltreatment.physio. So that's another way to be able to contact me.
Love it, brother. Truly appreciate it, man. There's going to be so many people that are going to see this that, dude, the golf community needs it.